getting real now. It's getting real. It's getting real for you very, very fast. And I can't even lie, you did this to yourself. You did this to yourself. Stephanie White under major fire. It is a microscope on you. The Indiana Fever have put Stephanie White on alert.
Watch that body language. Arms crossed, leaning back, that look of frustration. Stephanie White is feeling the pressure right now, and it's only going to intensify. Because the Indiana Fever just made a move that should have every coach paying attention. They brought Lynn Dunn back as a coaching consultant. And if you think that's just a normal front office adjustment, you're missing what's really happening here.
So Stephanie White came in year one and absolutely ruined the Indiana Fever's offense. Caitlin Clark dealt with injuries. I mean, it was a lot going on. But ultimately, it did not look like Caitlin Clark's style of play and Stephanie White's coaching style mesh at all. At all. Okay, we saw Caitlin Clark playing small forward. We saw Ari McDonald getting the ball, putting her hands over Caitlin Clark, all types of
Let's be clear about what went wrong in year one. The Fever offense completely collapsed under Stephanie White's system. We watched Caitlin Clark, the most dynamic offensive player in women's basketball, get moved to small forward. We saw Aaliyah Boston's usage rate drop. And then there's the Kelsey Mitchell situation, where Stephanie White publicly stated she wanted to build the team around Mitchell. Not around the player who broke every rookie record in WNBA history. Around Kelsey Mitchell. That's not a coaching philosophy. That's a career-limiting mistake when your franchise player is Caitlin Clark. The owner's son had to step in after those comments went public. Think about that. The ownership had to intervene because their head coach couldn't figure out who the franchise is actually built around.
Now, made Lynn Dunn a coaching consultant. Oh, you got a consultant now. You got a consultant now. Oh, okay. So Lynn Dunn, before Stephanie White was here, Lynn Dunn was responsible for Christy Sides being here. Lynn Dunn actually wanted to keep Christy Sides. She got the new front office in here. They elevated Lynn Dunn to more of an executive role, and the newer front office wanted to bring in Stephanie White. Okay.
Now here's where it gets interesting. Lynn Dunn has been with the Fever organization since 2003. She left in 2014, came back in 2019, and has been there ever since. That's over 15 years of institutional knowledge. She was there before the current front office. She was the one who originally wanted to keep Christy Sides. When the new front office came in, they elevated Lynn Dunn to an executive role and brought in Stephanie White. But now they're pulling Lynn Dunn back down to the court level, making her a coaching consultant. And in that interview clip, did you notice how she emphasized mentoring young coaches? How she takes that responsibility seriously? That's not casual language. That's Lynn Dunn being positioned as the person watching Stephanie White's every move.
McDonald's, who was jobless at the beginning of the season, y'all had a hell of a run. All of that is cool. I don't care about what you did with those other, that does not matter. The job for the Indiana Fever is to coach around Caitlin Clark. Can you build a team around Caitlin Clark and play a system that fits her and Aaliyah Boston? That's the job here. The job here is not to show, oh, I can win a couple games with Odyssey Sims and Ari McDonald. Okay, you can go to another team and win with those type of players.
Look at the timeline here. Stephanie White finishes her first season with the Fever. They make the playoffs, which sounds good on paper, but anyone who watched those games saw the dysfunction. Caitlin Clark dealing with injuries that weren't managed properly. The offense becoming stagnant in crucial moments, and then those postseason comments about Kelsey Mitchell being the building block. Within weeks, the Fever organization makes this move with Lynn Dunn. They don't announce a new assistant coach. They don't bring in an offensive coordinator. They specifically create a coaching consultant position and put someone with 15 years of Fever history into it. Someone who predates the current front office. Someone who can report directly to ownership without going through the same channels as Stephanie White. This isn't about development. This is about surveillance.
Willing to do the work, you're willing to rebound from failure because that's going to be part of the process. I think once you learn that life's a roller coaster and there's going to be ups and downs, but your ability to bounce back, refocus, get back on track will be key to your success. Lynn Dunn, a Fever coaching consultant. How long have I been with the Fever?
A Fever coaching consultant. Find a video of her saying that last year, that she was a coaching consultant last year. No, you won't. You won't.
Goodness gracious, how much time do we have? I started in 03, went through 2014, came back in 19, and been here ever since. Long enough to see the Fever take off. Wow, when did I fall in love with basketball? I think when it was in the backyard when I was 6 or 7 years old with my father and my brother. It was just always my favorite.
Here's what makes Lynn Dunn's position so significant. She's been coaching and involved with women's basketball for 56 years. That's not a typo. 56 years. She grew up in the South before Title IX, couldn't even play organized basketball until she was a junior in high school because it was literally against the law for girls to compete. She's seen every era of women's basketball. She's forgotten more about the game than most coaches will ever learn. And now she's watching Stephanie White. Every practice, every timeout, every rotation decision, every interaction with Caitlin Clark. Lynn Dunn isn't there to help Stephanie White succeed. She's there to document whether Stephanie White can succeed. There's a massive difference between those two things.
Basketball, it was my favorite. I didn't get to play until I was a junior in high school because I grew up in the South where it was against the law before Title IX to play. So a leader in women's rights and getting opportunities for girls and women. And to see the growth is a touching moment for me. Thank you, Title IX. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Who were the women in my life that inspired me growing up? The first name that came into my mind was my grandmother. She taught us the value of do the right thing. And one time I said to her, "How will I know?" She said, "You'll know." I've been coaching and being involved in some way with women's basketball and women's sports for 56 years. So that's a long time, and it's been a wonderful experience. And here at the twilight of my career, I'm able to finish my career with Pacer Sports and Entertainment and the Fever, and I'm absolutely so grateful and thankful.
Think about what Stephanie White walked into. She inherited a team with the biggest star in women's basketball. Caitlin Clark brought unprecedented attention to the WNBA. Attendance records shattered, television ratings doubled, merchandise sales went through the roof. The Fever went from being an afterthought to being must-see TV overnight. And Stephanie White's response was to try running her system instead of building a system around her best player. That's coaching malpractice at this level. You don't take a generational talent and force them into your philosophy. You adapt your philosophy to maximize that talent. Every successful coach in basketball history understands this principle. But instead, we got Caitlin Clark playing out of position. We got hero ball comments when Clark went off against the New York Liberty. We got visible frustration from the coach when her franchise player was doing franchise player things. Meanwhile, Kelsey Mitchell could jack up 25 shots and it was all good.
All right. Lynn Dunn. Lynn is back in a somewhat of a coaching position as a consultant. Stephanie White, they got eyes on you. They got eyes on you. Lynn Dunn has longevity within that organization that stems far longer than Amber Cox and Kelly Krauskopf and anybody new in that front office. Lynn Dunn was there before y'all, and Lynn Dunn will be there if y'all asses get fired. I'm telling you that right now. The Fever, they are on high alert.
The contrast in how Stephanie White treated her two guards tells you everything about her priorities. And those priorities didn't align with what the organization needed. The Fever didn't hire Stephanie White to win a few games with role players. They didn't bring her in to showcase Kelsey Mitchell. They hired her for one specific job: maximize Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, build a championship contender around those two players, and turn the massive attention Clark brings into sustained success. Year one was a failure by that metric. Not because they didn't make the playoffs. Because the offense looked worse than it did under Christie's sides. Because Clark's efficiency dropped in crucial stretches. Because the team's identity became confused instead of clear.
Season, while she was talking about building the team around Kelsey Mitchell and how she's the number one priority and all of this stuff, I don't think she did herself any favors with that. Indiana Fever higher-ups putting Stephanie White on alert. You better get it together this year. And you better get it together around Caitlin Clark. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think, man. Let's keep the vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share the channel.
Now we get to the real question. What happens if Stephanie White doesn't adjust? What happens if year two looks like year one? What happens if Lynn Dunn is sitting in those coaches' meetings watching film sessions, observing practices, and reporting back to ownership that the same problems persist? The Fever will move on. They'll have to. Because here's the business reality that Stephanie White needs to understand. Caitlin Clark is irreplaceable. Stephanie White is not. There are dozens of qualified coaches who would take that job tomorrow. There's only one Caitlin Clark. And if ownership has to choose between keeping their coach and keeping their franchise player happy, that's not even a choice. That's a foregone conclusion. Lynn Dunn's presence makes that calculation explicit. The organization is telling Stephanie White, without saying it directly, that her job security is tied entirely to how well she develops and utilizes Caitlin Clark. Not Kelsey Mitchell, not the role players, not her overall record. Caitlin Clark, period. That's why this coaching consultant move is so significant. It's not about adding expertise. The Fever have plenty of basketball knowledge in that organization. This is about accountability. This is about having someone with institutional credibility watching every decision and reporting back to the people who sign the checks. Stephanie White has a choice to make now. She can recognize what's happening and adjust her approach. She can build an offense that actually showcases what makes Caitlin Clark special. She can stop trying to prove she's the smartest person in the gym and start coaching to her personnel. Or she can keep running her system, keep making comments about building around other players, and keep ignoring the obvious. One of those paths leads to long-term success in Indiana. The other path leads to Lynn Dunn's observations becoming a termination memo. The pressure is real, the microscope is real, and the clock is ticking. Because the Indiana Fever didn't bring Lynn Dunn back to watch Stephanie White succeed. They brought her back to determine whether Stephanie White can succeed. And if the answer is no, they'll find someone who can. This isn't personal. This is business. The Fever have the biggest asset in women's basketball. They're not going to let coaching decisions diminish that asset. They're not going to let ego get in the way of championships. And they're definitely not going to prioritize a coach's system over their franchise players' success. Stephanie White did this to herself with those postseason comments. She created doubt about her priorities. She made ownership question whether she understood the assignment. And now she's living with the consequences. Lynn Dunn sitting courtside, watching everything, taking notes, reporting back. That's not a consultant, that's an auditor. And auditors only show up when someone's worried about the books. The Indiana Fever are worried. Stephanie White should be too. So here's the real question. Can Stephanie White swallow her pride, admit year one didn't work, and completely rebuild her offensive system around Caitlin Clark? Or will her ego prevent her from making the necessary changes? Because if it's the latter, Lynn Dunn is going to document every mistake, every questionable rotation, every moment where the coach's philosophy conflicts with the franchise's needs. And then Stephanie White will be looking for a new job, while Lynn Dunn helps interview her replacement. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Stephanie White can adjust? Or is this relationship already doomed? And if you were the Fever, how long would you give her to figure it out? Let me know below. And if you want more WNBA analysis that actually breaks down what's happening behind the scenes, hit that subscribe button. Because this story is just getting started.